how does a geoscientist develop a career linked to sustainable development?
So I think there's almost two different paths. One would be working within traditional geoscience organizations, but trying to have a focus, whether it's in your particular area of research or your particular area of professional practice, on issues linked to sustainability or international development. A field area that perhaps gives you the opportunity to start building an expertise in, for example, the geology of East Africa, to be building a network with institutions working in that region. So you have colleagues that you can collaborate with who are based there, and then to think about how you take forward that work in, whether it's working for universities, whether it's working for a geological survey, such as I do through my day job, whether it's working in one of the big global engineering consultancies like Arup or Atkins or Mott MacDonald, who are involved in fantastic work linked to international development, but drawing on the skills of engineering geologists, hydrogeologists, and other specialists. The second route would be to work for a non-traditional organization, so something that geoscientists don't normally go and work in. So that could be a international development NGO. So one of the big global organizations like the International Rescue Committee, Oxfam, Save the Children, the Red Cross, and organizations such as that. Or it could be working for one of the United Nations agencies, the World Bank. It could be working in public policy for a think tank, or for government in one of the ministries of governments that perhaps is connected into issues of sustainable development or global affairs. I think some of the skills for those two routes are the same. So to have impact, we're always going to have to understand things such as how public policy is made, how policy is influenced, and how we can connect our science to that world of policy making. And I think little exercises a lecturer could bring in, such as if you've just written an essay or a paper on volcanic hazards and it's focused on the geology, an extra exercise could be turning that into a one-page briefing note with minimal technical jargon that will be presented to the Minister for Civil Planning or something like that tomorrow. And you've got to very rapidly think about how you communicate and how you put your ideas down on paper to inform somebody who's not got a geology background. So thinking through things such as policy, thinking through things such as how we communicate across cultures and across disciplines. So again, if you want to ensure that what we do isn't just a report on a shelf, but is actually changed lives, good development outcomes, then I think we have to be better at working in those interdisciplinary teams. But also, I think, especially for the second path, in terms of working for agencies that are not traditional employers of geologists, we have to learn how to sell ourselves. How do we better sell our skills in a way that fits their language? So if I say that I can study the petrology of rocks, that in itself isn't something that's going to be on their list of criteria for recruiting somebody. But if we talk about that ability to work across scales, that ability to extract ideas that are local and then to build hypotheses about maybe how things work at a global level, that could very much align with the interests of a global sustainability consultancy or international aid agency. And then I also think we've got to place the geology in the bigger context. So for me as a disaster risk reduction researcher, I've got to do some reading around the international policies for disaster risk reduction. I've got to dip into the social science literature at times to understand the core philosophies and key papers around what makes communities vulnerable or resilient to the effects of a natural hazard. And I don't need to be experts in those things, but I need to be able to place my geology in its appropriate context, so that when I go into those organizations for interviews, I can demonstrate that I understand the big picture of how we reduce disaster risk, or how we manage natural resources in a sustainable way, or why delivering clean water and sanitation isn't just about drilling a borehole, but it's also about working with the local community and ensuring that they have the skills and understanding to maintain a project. Go and have a look at the Sustainable Development Goals. Go and look at the specific targets in those goals and have a think about, what are you doing in your context? What's your geoscience practice, professional practice, research? What's your outreach work that you're doing? How does it connect to the Sustainable Development Goals? Or how could you, in your particular sphere of influence, help to deliver some of those targets through your geological science, knowledge, and networks? And I think, individuals can have a big impact and a big influence. So go away and have a look at that. We have a wealth of resources on our website, so that's www.gfgd.org, or you can just Google Geology for Global Development, and some of those resources are really designed to help people think about what they can do and how they can connect into sustainable development.